Welcome to this week's session of Smash Course with Dr. Hensman. This week we will be discussing the fall of communism in Eastern Europe, also known as the fall of communism in Poland, East Germany, and in Hungary. Now, because every country needs to have a reference point when you have a revolution, and because the French Revolution makes such a wonderful reference point, even though they really didn't do anything other than behead most of the country's population, well, and get another tyrant, we will be using it as our reference point for this revolution. The fall of communism did occur in 1989, but to say that it just happened would be not only inaccurate, but very, very, very deceiving. To begin with, it was not simply a matter of chance. There were two main causes for this. Of course, they were very similar, but very opposite. Poverty and wealth. The Soviet Union had, like the French, been at the war for a very long time. However, unlike the French, it was not any ordinary bloody old war. It was, in fact, the Cold War. This Cold War was not, as I said, any ordinary war, but rather a technological race with the United States, who, thanks to a wartime economy, were enjoying wonderful amounts of economic wealth, but the Soviet Union was not so lucky, having been struck by several famines. In addition, the rest of Europe, thanks to the Marshall Plan, thank you, John Marshall, had come up with a sizable amount of money from the United States, of course, in an attempt to help with post-war economy. Unfortunately, the Soviet Union was not able to recoup all its losses, and due to its famine-stricken nature, lost lots and lots and lots of support. Thanks to recently developed radio technology, which the French did not have, although they might have been a whole lot closer had they not decapitated Lavoisier, the communist-occupied countries were able to hear about all the economic prosperity that happened outside of Russia, but not inside. Consequently, the rising wealth outside of the Soviet Union and the declining wealth and food within the Soviet Union caused much unrest. This unrest would lead to revolution. However, a new party had come into existence, and they wished to bring Poland out of the Soviet Union. Dr. Hensman, but I thought revolution was supposed to be bloody and violent. I'm actually glad you asked. For, you see, this revolution was not bloody like the French, nor was it very deadly. Because the Soviet Union was incapable of dealing with any military issues at the time, it being starved and out of any money, it was not able to suppress this. Consequently, all the elections turned out to the extent that communism was absolutely kicked out in a most unbloody fashion. Similar situations happened in both Hungary and in Germany, with similar circumstances and certain similar conclusions. Many people attribute the end of the Cold War and such to Ronald Reagan's speech at the Berlin Wall. Of course, this wasn't strictly true, but it's a nice thought. After all, we like Reagan. That is, we like his speech. And now it's time for my favorite part of the show. You never know what could be inside the box. Oh look, a rock. But it's not any ordinary rock. It's actually a piece of the Berlin Wall. We see in most revolutions, the French Revolution included, that the mob is the key driving force behind it. But the nature of the mob sometimes changes. For example, the mob in Germany and Poland was a polite, or at least non-violent mob. In France, not so much. When Poland and East Germany were finally able to attain independent and democratic rule, the masses got their say. Well, that about wraps it up. Oh, and speaking of the mob, be sure to join us next week as we study the American Mafia. Thank you very much.